Hello, and welcome to this episode of Frankie's Cultural Observations. Today, we're going to be analysing podcasters. In the modern world, podcasters are the closest thing we have to philosophers. Straight white male philosophers that used to be the bully in your school, but then due to a leg injury, dropped out of playing sports and had to learn how to use audio equipment on their journey of becoming some of the worst people you've ever met. Podcasters are victims of fluid modernity. The fizzling away of old media structures led to NPCs speaking in microphones, saturating the audio space, competing for resources to become the number one alpha brain supreme leader chimp. And due to the high levels of market competition, being entertaining is no longer enough. Podcasters also have to pretend to be smart. After a long hard day of working your spirit down to a nub in a relentless dead-end 9 to 5 job, you, as a podcast listener, just want to be educated by a self-proclaimed mental health guru who still clearly hates his mother and has an obsession with power. Podcasters are control freaks that pretend to be chilled out so you'll feel comfortable putting them on as background noise when you're trying to sleep. The real question we need to examine here is not why do podcasters try to colonize human consciousness, but rather why are we so afraid of the silence in our minds that we have to listen to some chirpy LA coat hanger do an ad read on Helix sleep mattresses in order to feel safe. Podcasters are incapable of having a deep, meaningful conversation when the cameras aren't rolling. And even when they are, it's still a struggle, but they do manage to grunt out a few buzzwords about how men can have anxiety too, / unsolicited pseudo-nutritional advice. The body of the podcaster becomes an extension of capital. They refuse to have any interesting thoughts that aren't mediatized, opting instead to save it for the pod. Podcasters see other human beings as stepping stones on their journey towards online stardom. When you look into the eyes of the podcaster, sorry, can you take off your sunglasses? When you look into the eyes of the podcaster, you can see that the ring light is on, but nobody's inside the podcast studio. They have a shallowness inside them so deep that you'll never be able to see beyond their paywall. Which is why you should subscribe to their Patreon and enjoy all the content that wasn't good enough to put up on their main channel in the first place. But your financial contribution will ensure that they'll be allowed to continue to make generic podcasts with similar guests giving similar takes on similar topics for the rest of eternity to an audience full of people who've been MK Ultra'd into thinking they've never heard this podcast before. Podcasters have to engage in the simulation of intimacy, telling unprompted, self-revealing tales in the hopes that pulling their own pants down in the public square will allow YouTube revenue to keep the lights on. And importantly, all under the banner of shedding light or spreading awareness or whatever other empty phrase they'd use to try to make themselves sound like a good person that isn't searching for clout. Due to the process of Pavlovian... Put your phone away. Due to the process of Pavlovian conditioning, podcasters have to become increasingly controversial in order to retain their audience attention and avoid extinction effects. On the political spectrum, podcasters have to move further and further to the right until they inevitably fall off for using a racial slur and then magically crash land on Rumble 3 months later under the label Truth Seeker.